All right, welcome back to the Daily Mastermind. George Wright III with your daily dose of inspiration, motivation, and education. And today I want to talk to you about maximizing your team potential, really creating a strong team and also accountability. So let's talk about why this matters. Well, listen, business growth and your business is directly tied to your team performance and accountability. That's something that you probably deal with on a day-to-day basis, whether you have a team of 2 people or a team of 20 people or 100 people. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today. But if this is your first time listening, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes. We're going to be, as some of you know, rolling out a brand new podcast called The Authority Formula here this next week. And I'm excited for that because that's going to be more of our long form interviews. This is going to be our partnership and collaboration with Valiant CEO Magazine and Authority Magazines. It's something I think you're going to get a lot of strategies and tactics out of, and also be able to collaborate with other business owners, thought leaders, celebrities, experts, people that have really started to build authority, which you know from listening to this show, I believe is one of the best ways to grow your business. So make sure that you smash that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes. And we'll be able to let you know when those new podcasts and interviews will be launching. So with that said, let's get to the point here today. I always like to try to keep this very concise. So I'm going to go through with you some ways that you can really maximize the potential of a team and create a culture of accountability. But it all starts with the foundation. You've got to really understand your team. And I know that some of you have, high level managers already in place, but whether you're thinking about the management you have, the line level individuals, or even new people that you're bringing on, it's very, very important that you establish a foundation and a culture. So the first thing that we want to do, is define the roles clearly. And I know this sounds simple, but every team member should know exactly what their responsibilities are and how to contribute to the big picture. It's very important you tie that to the vision that you have for the company. And so as you define these roles, you really need to identify the strengths and weaknesses of each individual. You have to use assessments, observations, and people that can help you in each area of your business. But if you don't understand the strengths and weaknesses, you don't know how to compensate for weaknesses, and you don't know how to really double down on strengths that people have. You might just have tasks or priorities. It's important to identify the strengths and weaknesses. And one more thing when you're building your foundation is it's super important that you establish some core values and culture, because in order to build, for example, things like trust, consistency, reporting, alignment with the values that you have in the company, this is the foundation. Getting the right people in the right seats so that you have them aligned with your vision so that you can execute on this throughout your, throughout your priorities. The second thing you need to do is you really need to learn to leverage the team itself. And so you've got to delegate things that you're doing with purpose. A lot of times as a leader, especially as we scale companies, we tend to not give things up. We don't offload tasks. We don't delegate to other individuals. And it's important to delegate outcomes and ownership of things that you want done in your organization. If you truly want to leverage the team, it can't always be about you driving those activities. I suffer from that same problem many, many times because as founders and CEOs, we have a pretty strong vision. We want to jump in and get things done. But you've got to learn to, not just offload tasks, but delegate full outcomes and ownership. The other thing you have to do when you're leveraging your team is empowered decision-making. When you empower decision-making, you give the team member authority in their role to drive actions. That accountability for decision-making is something that will have people really step up if you do that. The other thing you need to do when you're leveraging your team is foster collaboration. Encourage team members to work together. A lot of times as business owners, we work individually with these silos of departments like, sales and marketing and operations, fulfillment and things. But it's important for you to encourage cross-functional teams and communication and equip your team with systems of communication, whatever those best systems are that fit your needs. So once you have a foundation and you've really set up a structure to leverage your team, the third thing I believe you need to do is create a culture of accountability. This is the part a lot of businesses miss. And so it's not just about making sure people get things done. You've got to set super clear expectations and KPIs, those key performance indicators, because Accountability really starts with clarity. Sometimes we feel like people are not accountable, but we haven't gotten clear on what success looks like. What outcome specifically do you want to have happen? And then measure it with KPIs. Now, it might be completed tasks or it might be completed objectives, but KPIs like, with a marketing department, it might be the number of leads, the cost per lead, the cost per acquisition, the conversions in sales or conversion numbers. There's KPIs for every department, even when it comes to content and content production, social media. There's always KPIs, but get clear on the outcome and then measure those outcomes, and then create regular check-ins and feedback loops. It's not important. I'm sorry, it's not just important to have reporting. You've got to have that mechanism for feedback so people know and they don't get discouraged if they're not hitting their KPIs. You can help them and you can get feedback from them. And it's important as you do that to really focus on ownership rather than blame. Encourage people to take responsibility without them fearing what the result will do and what it'll do for their job. And when you give them that ownership rather than blame, then they'll start to feel the pressure whether you're applying it or not. And that's a really, really important principle. One more thing that I would say goes without saying is, and you've probably heard this before if you've been in business for any length of time, is it's very important to recognize wins in public, but corrections or disciplinary type stuff in private. You've really got to celebrate the wins. When you would be surprised how much people will do for recognition, even above pay. Celebrating those wins and handling the issues discreetly is something that is very, very important to do when you're starting to leverage your team. So what happens then? Well, then you run into scenarios. So you've built a foundation, you know that you're leveraging your team properly, and you're creating a culture of accountability. But now what happens when things come up? Because there's real life, right? In an incubator, you can have all that stuff happen and things go great, which never happens. So troubleshooting and real life scenarios are going to come up. So handling underperformance. What do you do here? What do you do when people are just underperforming? Well, you've got to take steps to address these issues constructively. There's a great book, Crucial Conversations, Crucial Confrontations. There are two different books that I would encourage you to look at. There's ways to handle underperformance, and there's also ways to handle conflict. So, handling underperformance by taking steps to address issues constructively and improve outcomes is very important. Handling conflict resolution by creating strategies to resolve tension that might be happening both between teams and inside teams. This is where a true leader is going to show its merit. Because what your job is, once you set a foundation and accountability and culture and this feedback loop, you've got to be the person that then steps in and handles underperformance rather than letting it continue and handling conflict. And it's important to also know when to coach versus when to let go. Knowing when someone needs your support versus they're just not a fit. Sometimes it is a matter of resources. Sometimes it's a matter of resourcefulness, and sometimes people are just not a fit. As a leader, you need to decide and be prepared to handle situations. If it's underperformance, if it's conflict, or if it's just simply someone is not a fit, you've got to be, and this is important because a lot of times people see this as conflict, but when you look at the bigger picture, you're responsible many times for a lot of your other employees, families, the well-being of the business, of the clients. It's important that you don't let things slide as a leader. So as just kind of a summary here, because the goal here of this episode was I wanted to just plant these seeds for you on, number one, how you can really truly set yourself up for success with teams, but also importantly, leverage a team for growth so that you're not doing it on your own. And this team, by the way, might be internal, might be external people, but the goal is to leverage strengths, delegate intentionally, and foster accountability. When you do that, when you find individuals and resources that you can leverage their strengths, you can delegate things that you shouldn't be working on, and you can foster accountability, it'll be unstoppable. Your business will be unstoppable. You'll be unstoppable. And so just remember this. I'll leave you with this final thought. Great teams don't just happen. They're built intentionally. Let me say that again. Great teams do not just happen. They're built intentionally. So if you want to be a leader, if you want to grow your business, if you want to create the life and the lifestyle that you're trying to create, you've got to build teams. You've got to leverage teams. You've got to build leaders, and that's going to take intention. So that's my message for today. I hope you have an amazing day. I'm really looking forward to the new release of the Authority Formula podcast. I think there's a lot of content you're going to get from our collaboration with Valiant CEO. But do me a favor, share this episode that I just went through with you. Help me to basically share the message and spread the word as to what we're doing here. We haven't done any advertisements. We haven't done any, collaborations to this point. So anything you could do to share the episode would be much appreciated. And also hit me up when you do that. Just tag me at the Daily Mastermind on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We're pretty much everywhere. And let me know what you're up to. I'd love to know what I could do to support you, what resources, what content, what information motivates you and inspires you. That's the type of stuff that I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. So that's my message for today. I hope you have an amazing day. I look forward to talking with you more tomorrow. Once again, this has been the Daily Mastermind.